Hey, good evening, brothers. How you guys doing? Thanks for tuning in on this Monday night. I guess different time this week. Needs must. Was hoping to be playing Death Guard tonight, but we will do that next Monday, I think. So yeah, good evening. I'm fine. I did a COVID test yesterday, still negative, but it seems safest just to not risk it. So yeah, I was around someone who was around someone that had a positive test, so they're still negative, I'm still negative, but seems safest to just not risk anything and not meet other people tonight. I think in Scotland anyway, the cases of COVID are flying through the roof, so I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. But thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. Alan, Gitley, Camille, a lot of people in the chat tonight. Michael, David, The Vosk, Mr. Pog, Highland Phoenix. Also saw Alan. Good evening. Welcome to the Blood Angels. You just started 40k a month ago. Mike is peaking a little bit. I have forever have problems with this microphone, you know that? Literally forever have problems with this microphone. But yeah, okay, so good evening. Monday night show, I guess, tonight. And as always on Monday night, or on the Army List show, sorry, we check out Army Lists submitted by you, the community, and we have 5 lists to get into as normal tonight, and the lists for tonight are from, if anyone else is having sound issues, let me know. And, you know, I turned the mic down because it was cutting out. I just forever have problems with this microphone. So we've got Camille and Kevin, who are members, and then we've got Daiochi, James, and Mohammed. And yeah, so we got 5 lists tonight to look forward to. And you know, I just quickly wanted to say, because I haven't announced it for a little while, I guess, if you do want to submit your list for review in the future, then the way you do that is you hit up the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, which you can find, I guess, by clicking the little Blood Angels icon in pretty much any one of my videos. You head over to the community tab, which is just here at the top, and in the latest community post, so this one was the one that I put up on Friday about fast attack, go ahead and hit comment and just paste your list in here. We can show who's up for next week as well. And my stream alerts are apparently disabled. 1 second. Thank you for subscribing. We just missed who that was. But I appreciate the subscription nonetheless. Chat will tell me. Ivo, thank you for subscribing. Next week it's Steve, Hondo, Russell, Peter, and T Money. And then 2 weeks ahead it's James, Lucas, Matty B, and Michael Holke. So that is where we're sitting. Did you submit a list, Arius? Were you wondering? Typically, if you're asking who's ahead, you maybe submitted a list. I have you. I mean, I guess because we have you down on the 3 weeks ahead. Yeah, I mean the non-members queue is a little while. Probably like 4 or 5 weeks at the moment. Yeah, sorry. If you want me to just give you some feedback on your list before we get to live stream, if it's too long to wait, like if you've got a tournament or something coming up, then just tag me on Discord and I will answer. Like, I'm happy to answer questions, but like typically if you want like a half an hour deep dive, it's on the live stream. And yeah, if you've got a new list to submit, Highland, whenever you're ready, just submit it. We're gonna know why we didn't rank ATVs. ATVs are a funny one. We're going to do a video about ATVs and land speeders. I might even do that for Friday's video this week. If not this week, then next week. I want to look at ATVs and land speeders and really work out, because we talk a lot, right? The ATVs are toughness 5, 8 wounds, and land speeders are toughness 6 wounds, I think, off the top of my head. So, arguably they're going to be like super similar, and they're similar in points, and we talked about them a lot, and I don't know if we had a quite definite answer, or definitive answer rather, on what is best for the points. So I want to do a video on those, and maybe even we'll throw in regular attack bikes as well, because everybody's still running regular attack bikes, or people still rate regular attack bikes very highly, right? And if you enjoy tonight's stream as well, guys, I do always really appreciate if you hit that thumbs up button. it does actually help out a huge amount, because the YouTube algorithm is very funny on who it shows your videos to. It depends on likes and stuff like that, so every like is very appreciated. David says, as soon as I finish painting stuff, I'll definitely drop a list into the queue. Jarman are suffering from success with all these lists too popular. Yeah, I mean, another thing I do at the end of the stream is I'll put all the lists into the video description. So if anybody has, I'm trying to say, if anyone wants to go back and look at any of the lists that we look at tonight, then you can get them from the video description after the stream. So that'll be useful as well. And then one other cool thing that we're working on is I'm actually working with another YouTuber to improve. Do you know what? It's this horrific graphic at the top of my banner. We're going to get that improved. And I'm working with another YouTuber who is doing me a rendition of this banner up here. So hopefully, in the not too distant future, we'll have a new banner, which I'll share with you guys if you want to use it as a wallpaper. I can share what we've got so far. So it's going to be a much more Blood Angels themed banner. So this is obviously the YouTube template with safe area and stuff, but this is coming along, so this is going to be pretty cool. Made sure we got the captain on the bike in there. We actually have him twice, but we're gonna change that. But yeah, so we're going to have a new banner to share, and you can use it as your desktop if you want to in the coming weeks or whatever. Yeah, it does look dope, right? It's got a ways to go, but I think when it's finished, it'll look great. And if you want to check out the YouTuber that's doing it, his channel's called Artist Empire. He was actually featured in White Dwarf this month, I believe he said he was featured in. So he's growing pretty quickly, and he was actually featured in White Dwarf for a Blood Angels video, or a Blood Angels paint over. I don't know if I know which video it was, but yeah, he was featured in White Dwarf this month. So he's going to be hooking me up. He done some great paint overs. You should check his channel out if you ever want to get your models painted over. He's going to be the guy to see. Okay, yeah, so let's get straight into Camille's list. And yeah, please, if you've got lists to submit, just submit them whenever. I know there's a queue, but it's absolutely fine to submit them in advance. And using your own models in the image is classy too. They're becoming real characters on your channel. I wanted to not use named characters because I didn't know if Games Workshop would be funny about that, if I'm like distributing the image out to you guys as like a free desktop. So I thought we'd try and use all like what am I trying to say, non-named characters, I guess. And then the other thing, just to really I don't know, whatever you want to say. I don't know if you noticed the Sangri Priest here. He's an old Sangri Priest before they took his rules away, where he's got a Stormbolter and a Power Sword. So at the beginning of was it the beginning of 9th edition? In 8th edition, you were able to build a Sangri Priest with weapon options. And then they took that away for some reason. So this one was one of the ones that I converted. So I was like, yeah, he's going in it, because I'm still annoyed that this guy's sitting on the shelf. He's just sitting there collecting dust because we can't give Sangri Priest weapon options anymore. Alright, so let's get into Camille's list. And I saw Camille in the chat. It's always great if the people whose lists we're looking at are in the chat, so they can answer any questions I've got or clarify things. So thanks for hanging out, Camille. And a couple of these lists might be using the old points. However, I think Camille's list is using the new points, so this should be 100% accurate and valid as of today. Okay, so we're going to start with Patrol Detachment, 810 points, and in that detachment we have Lord Inquisitor Hector Rex. And I guess if you didn't watch my video on Inquisitors a few weeks back, no one expects the Blood Angels Inquisition, then Hector Rex is a really, really interesting character. There was like 2 Inquisitors that I really thought, like, if I was going to buy an Inquisitor, Hector Rex was one of the 2 that I really like. He's expensive though. I think you only get him on Forge World, and he's about $50 for a single character. But he's very survivable, right? 6 wounds. He's in Terminator armor, so he's got a 2+ save. He also has a Storm Shield, or the Satanic Shield, giving him that 4+ invulnerable save. You can actually pick a Warlord trait on him, where you can give him a 3+ invulnerable save. So he's basically in Terminator armor with a 3+ invulnerable save, 6 wounds. He also has a shrug against mortal wounds on a 5+, and you know, he can do 2 psychic powers and deny 2 as well. So for 100 points, oh, and he can reroll all hits and wounds against his Malice, so all hits and wounds against Chaos and Demons he can re-roll, and his sword does an additional mortal wound every time it wounds a demon. It just does an additional mortal wound, right? Like, it's not like it only does them on 6s, it's just every wound on a demon. So this guy is pretty crazy. 3 weeks ahead, I guess, means so next week would be Sunday the 4th, so I guess 3 weeks ahead I think would mean Sunday the 18th, Ares. Yeah, so Hector Rex is kind of a crazy character for 100 points. I mean, the only thing he doesn't have against him, the only thing he doesn't have is he's not quick, right? But he does have Teleport Strike. So, I mean, the fact that he's not quick can be negated with Teleport Strike. And, you know, 2 powers out of the, I'm not sure I'm going to say this right, but the Teltheus discipline is actually a really interesting psychic discipline. You get some cool ones where you can basically farm command points. You can make it -1 on enemy characters to hit. You know, I don't know. He's a great character for 100 points. I like him a lot. I think at some point in the future I will probably buy him as well. So Hector Rex bringing up a bit of psychic strength, and I believe Ordo Malice actually has it has a 5. One of its psychic powers is lets you put like a 5+ invulnerable save on an infantry unit, similar to Psychic Fortress or similar to Shield of Sanguinius, but it's infantry or bikers only, I think. But I mean, it's still very, very good. You take him with Mental Interrogation and Malice. Alright, so you can farm CP, you can make an enemy -1 to hit an enemy character, and then you can also make an infantry or biker a 5++, which is great. I like him a lot. I mean, I think him and Cotias, I actually bought Cotias this month because he's only $15. I think him and Cotias are the 2 Inquisitors that I saw that I was like, wow, these Inquisitors are actually really good and synergize quite well with Blood Angels. And I mean, the -1 to hit is going to be is pretty good against big, nasty enemy characters as well, right? Alright, then we start this patrol detachment with a Chaplin on a bike, who is the Mantra of Strength, the Gift of Foresight, the Benediction of Fury, the Master of Sanctity, the Litany of Hate, and Angel's Exemplar, and the Imperium Sword. So this guy is basically going to be like Strength 8 with the Benediction of Fury if Mantra of Strength goes off. I believe if you've made him the Master of Sanctity, you can pick one more litany here. Because Master of Sanctity gives you the ability to take 2 litanies. It's been a little while since I ran the Chaplain on the bike, but let me just double check that. This model knows 1 additional litany, yeah. So I would take probably litany of... Oh, you said you've taken Exor of Range. Oh yeah, you sent me this other comment. And do you know what? I thought about this comment when you sent it, because I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly. Either is it Exorbitant of Rage? I'm definitely not saying it correctly. But the Rage one is the one that gives you +1 to wound, right? Let me just find the litanies. Again, it's been a little while since I ran the Chaplain on a bike. Yeah, it gives, when you make a melee attack within 6 inches, you get +1 to wound, right? So that, it doesn't help you at all in the first round of combat, right? Because it doesn't stack with the Red Thirst. So I was actually thinking it might be better to just take Litany of Faith here. Just to give you the ability to get like a giant bubble of protection against mortal wounds. I mean, I guess if the combat goes on longer than 1 turn, then I guess Exorbitant of Rage helps, but it feels like a low value pick because it's never going to help you on the turn where you have Red Thirst, right? Yeah, I mean, I guess, or if you're against some sort of character or enemy that has -1 to wound. What new sister model has -1 to wound? I know that the new Stern has that, but I'm not sure I'm not sure who else had it. Imperium Sword also does let you reroll your charges, so there's some advantage in that, I guess, as well. We then have it's a 1 CP strat for Sacrosants. Sacrosants are undercosted, holy crap. They get so many abilities for 14 points a model, it's kind of ridiculous. Anyway. We then have an Infiltrator squad, a Death Company Dreadnought with a Heavy Flamer, a Meltagun, and Blood Talons. And I kind of like that. We've spoken a little bit about the Death Company Dreadnought in Discord, actually. And you took it from Mortarion? Okay. By the same argument, though, I guess Litany of Faith would be good against Mortarion, right? Because Mortarion's going to be shitting out mortal wounds at you, so being able to get a 5+ shrug against every mortal wound that happens within 6 inches of your Chaplain is also going to be good. So I guess 2 good picks there, you need to decide. The one thing about the Litany of Faith, though, is it's going to help you against other armies as well. And it's something that I'm actually considering bringing back. I guess when we see how strong Grey Knights and Thousand Suns are, the rumour is they're getting a new box pretty soon. So I guess like once we see that, I guess we'll see. Okay, so I like the Death Company Dreadnought. I kind of like it with double Heavy Flamer, in that I think with double Heavy Flamer he becomes very hard to charge, but I mean a Meltagun, and if you're going to play him more offensively, that's fine as well. But double Heavy Flamer on the Death Company Dreadnought, we've talked a lot about it in Discord, and we kind of feel like it's the best option right now, just because it kind of makes him very, very difficult to charge. With infantry anyway. So, and you know, if you think about like Sisters of Battle with all these Sacrosants and Repentia and stuff like that, the double Heavy Flamer should mow down a lot of them before they manage to get in with a charge, and I think that's why we were thinking that was good. We then have our Debtor Dreadnought, pretty standard loadout, or that is the best loadout, I think. The 2 Stormbolters, the Macro Incinerator, and the Onslaught Cannon. I mean, in some cases, Frag Storms could be slightly better, but they do have less range, so I think the Stormbolter is probably the more reliable pick. And then we have the Whirlwind, which we said is S tier, and you kind of... like, the Whirlwind's so important right now. I've been thinking about a Whirlwind a little bit this week. Like, is there a way to drop the Whirlwind and take like a Judiciar? But no, I don't think there is. I mean, the Whirlwind just gives you that fight last anywhere on the board, and that alone is super powerful. Alright, and then into the second detachment, and this time it's a Vanguard, and we're at 186 points. We have a Chapter Master in Terminator Armour, who has the Hammer of Baal, an Iron Resolve, and a Storm Shield. And he's obviously got Hero of the Chapter as well. What's this? Oh yeah, Iron Resolve is his Hero of the Chapter. Alright, so it's basically a Captain in Terminator Armour who's hitting on 2s because he's got the Hammer of Baal. And Iron Resolve puts him on what? How many wounds does a Terminator Captain have? I'm not actually sure. Captain in Terminator Armour. So you had 7 wounds and a 6+ shrug. So it's probably an average about 8.3 wounds or something like that. Iron Resolve gives you +1 wound as well, yeah. So I still don't take the Whirlwind. I don't really feel the need for it. I mean, maybe in your meta, Gitley, you don't need it. In mine, I feel like I need it very, very badly. I feel like there's certain units that if they get to fight first, they'll just wipe my entire unit, and like I just can't risk that. We then have Librarian in Terminator Armour, who has Unleash Rage and Shield of Sanguinius and Wings. So he's obviously got the Chief Librarian upgrade, and then he also is carrying Icon of the Angel. So I guess they can drop down and reroll some charges and cast Unleash Rage as well to give some bonus attacks somewhere. We then have a 7-man Sangri Guard, mostly swords and axes. And like I've said a lot, this is the right combination. I'd always say slightly more swords and axes, but I mean, I run 8, 4, and 4, so this seems just about fine. Assault Terminators with a Sergeant with a Thunderhammer and all the rest with Thunderhammers. So yeah, I guess you've got a nice detachment of Terminators coming in, right? A Chapter Master, a Librarian, and 5 other Terminators. I think your teleport homer is going to be kind of wasted here, to be honest. I'm not sure if there's a better place you can spend the 5 points, but if you're coming in turn 2, making some charges, I guess maybe... I don't know. I paid the points for teleport homer a bunch of times, and very, very rarely do I ever feel that I get value out of it. And very, very rarely do I use Upon Wings of Fire now. Just the whole fact that you have to be off the board for a whole turn kind of sucks. I guess Terminators are really... they are really slow, so I guess the 5 points is maybe okay, but like, let me know like if you ever actually find use for this, because I ran it a bunch of times and felt like it was wasted points. We then have Vanguard Veterans, and it's a 5-man squad, and it's all Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, and the Sergeant with the Relic Blade and the Infernal Pistol, which I think is the best way to run the Vanguard Veterans. I think this is a very killy squad, harass the backfield, do objectives, etc, etc. And then 2 squads of Eradicators with the one with Melter Rifles, one with Heavy Melter Rifles. Okay. What I would say is, like, the Heavy Melter Rifles on paper are very good, and if the enemy are pushing you, they're very good. Reziel, is the audio quality off today? Someone else said that the audio was weird. I hope it's fine for you. Alright, thank you. Honestly, ever since I bought this microphone, I have regretted it and have wanted to buy another microphone. That's what you get for... I don't know, this one wasn't even cheap either, so, I mean... okay. I will try... tiny bit of clipping. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna mess with the settings again. It's a nightmare. The Heavy Melter Rifle Eradicators, when I ran them, they felt very good when the enemy came to me. They felt a little bit difficult to use effectively when I had to go to the enemy. Now, I guess regular Eradicators don't have that problem. But, you know, if any enemy comes to you and your Heavy Melter Rifle Eradicators don't have to move, their damage output is kind of phenomenal. So... Death Guard and Sisters punish me always. Yeah, I mean, I've done a few games against Death Guard and Sisters on the channel, right? And like, screening out those Eradicators is probably pretty important. And yeah, I guess we've talked a little bit about. Right, hold on. Let me mess with this game a little bit. Alright. I turned the game down too, so let me know if that sounds better, please. Is that Iron Brew? I like Iron Brew, but I don't think I've got any in this room. Okay, it's a little bit better, thank you. Yeah, okay, so, I mean, Eradicators aren't bad. I think I prefer Attack Bike still. But Attack Bikes at 180 points kind of makes them difficult to pick. Oh no, I'm just drinking water tonight, but I do actually really like Iron Brew. It's like the one fizzy drink that I actually enjoy. I use the heavies more for the middle than the normal ones to flank. Yeah, I mean, if you can get the heavies in a good position and they don't need to move too much, then they'll be absolutely golden, and their damage output is disgusting. That's the trick, though, right? Like, I feel like in some games, like when I played Orcs and Brett was literally running all his close combat units at me, the heavy Eradicators were amazing. I actually did like 16 damage to his Dreadnought, and then I still had 46 to roll, so it was like his Dreadnought was actually dead before I even rolled any dice. So I think I did like 30 wounds to his Dreadnought from the heavy melt Eradicators in a turn. But if you can't get in range and the -1 to hit for the heavy, and it's just a blue glass. Yeah, okay, let me think about this for a second. So we've got the Terminators, they're coming in. We've got the Redemptor Dread, we've got the Death Company Dread, we've got the Infiltrators, Hector Rex, and a Chaplin. A squad of Sanguine Guard, a squad of Vanguard Veterans, and then 2 squads of Eradicators. Hey Jar Miniatures, thank you so much for becoming a member. That's appreciated. You can link up your Discord to YouTube, and you will be able to get into our members only room in Discord. So make sure you do that. Yeah, you're probably right, actually. The heavy melter rifles will help a lot against Mortarion if he's... And, Mortarion's... I guess Mortarion's a good example, right? He's going to need to move in range because he's only got, like, a one-shot pistol, so he's not effective if he's not really in close combat or he's not in psychic range. So, yeah, interesting choice, I guess. And I think... I guess I can see the logic, and like I said, I don't hate heavy melter rifle Eradicators. I actually love their damage output. Just personally, I don't think they fit too much with my playstyle. I feel like they're a little bit too immobile for me. But yeah, I mean, they definitely work, and they definitely do a lot of damage. Okay, I just remembered right this second that I haven't opened my Google Doc where we score all these lists, so give me 1 second. I guess this is just me at 6s and 7s because this show's going out on a different day. Where is it? Recent. Blood Angels army lists. Here we go. Alright. Make a copy. Oh, duplicate, that's what I'm looking for. Right, 28th of June. And we're starting with Camille. So, you've got one OBSEC unit, like I run, which can be a little bit... I mean, it scores you bad in OBSEC, but overall I don't know if it's super important. Blood Angels are very good now of flooding enemy objectives and killing... the enemies on their objectives and scoring points that way. Yeah, I mean, it is a USB mic. It's a condenser. I mean, like, it's on this massive stand and stuff. And my last microphone was about half the price of this one, and it worked great, and this one has just been a nightmare. So, yeah. So we've got one, we're going to start with 6.5 on OBSEC. Anti-infantry firepower, I guess, is the next question. Now, we've got, I guess, like 7 Sangri Guard with bolt guns, or Angelus bolt guns, sorry. We have, I guess, our Eradicators, but we don't really want to be firing them at infantry, but we can if we have to. We've got our Whirlwind. Again, we might not be able to fire at infantry, but we can if we have to. Got the Redemptor, the Death Company Dreadnought, which can clear up a reasonable amount of infantry because of the heavy flamer and stuff. And then, yeah, so it's not the strongest against horde-based lists, but it does. I think it does have enough firepower to probably thin enough of the hordes to then be able to make charges where you need to be, and then once you're actually making your charges, you're in very good situation, right? You've got a lot of Thunderhammers, you've got a bunch of Lightning Claws, you've got 4 pretty strong characters, and I guess if you're... Hector Rex is a funny one, because against Chaos and Demons, he's absolutely amazing. Against other chapters, or other armies, sorry, he's still pretty good, but I guess if you're talking about playing Death Guard, then he can be absolutely amazing. So I think anti-horde infantry is like an 8-5. It's not the strongest we've seen, but it's not bad. Swap Teleport Homer for a pistol in the Sanguine Guard and Infernal Pistol. That's not a bad idea, actually. I genuinely really like having one Infernal Pistol in the Sanguine Guard. I always end up with my Sanguine Guard close enough to my Chapter Master to get the +1 to hit and the rerolls, so it's almost like a guaranteed Infernal Pistol hit if you're... Yeah, I mean, link me a new microphone, Reziel. I will put that on my list of purchases that I need to buy for the channel. Because yeah, I was kind of thinking that maybe when I move house, I'll get a new microphone, because this one has just never been quite what I wanted it to be. And I've tried so many times to set it up and reset it up. So okay. Anti-vehicle monster now. I want to count up how many 3 damage weapons we have here. So we've got 6 melter rifles. We then have an Infernal Pistol in the Vanguard Veterans, so that's 7. We've got 5 more Thunderhammers here, that's 12. I guess we've got our Force Axe is D3, right? I run the Force Sword, but I'm sure the Force Axe is D3 as well, right? Librarian... Force Axe D3, yeah, okay, so that's 13. Hammer of Baal is 14. Redemptor Dreadnought has 2, that's 16. Yeah, so you've got a Meltagun here, and then the Talons, that's like 19. And then you've got Benediction of Fury. So you've got 23 damage or more weapons in here. So yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, we missed the Combi Melta on the Librarian as well. Okay, sorry, 21 3 damage weapons. Yeah, okay. So that's probably the most 3 damage weapons we've ever seen in a list. And I think that's probably because you fight Death Guard a lot. Hey Kevin, thanks for tuning in. So yeah, that makes sense. So that's very good. So anti-monster and enemy... I mean, you have a very, very punchy list here. I'm guessing like this could be 9.5. Mobility wise, so your Eradicators aren't mobile, your Terminators aren't mobile, but you've taken a Teleport Homer. And then I guess your Dreadnoughts aren't mobile, but they probably don't overly need to be. I guess mobility is like 7.5. And then specialization, I think we have 21 3 damage weapons, which I think is the most we've ever had. We have the Whirlwind, so we can counter fight last. We have... I need to get my brain in gear. What else do we normally think about for utility? I mean, we have a decent amount of infantry that can do actions as well, and or characters. We also have Psychic, but in terms of Psychic, we actually have 3 denies. That's something else we look at for specialization. So 3 denies is actually pretty solid. We also have a way to farm CP here, and there's two different stratagems. There's one psychic power, and there's also a stratagem that if Hector Rex is within 12 inches of an enemy when they die, you can pay 1 CP to potentially gain up to D3 CP back, and you can -1 leadership the opponent's whole army for the rest of the battle. So I think in terms of specialization, this might be the first time we would go with a 10 in specialization, because we've already scored you down for OBSEC and we've scored you down for mobility. So I think those are the weaknesses, right? We already mentioned the Eradicators being maybe weak, the Terminators maybe being a little bit immobile, and then the sort of lack of OBSEC. But 21 3 damage weapons is Actually, doesn't Hector Rex arguably could be doing 3 damage as well, I guess, because he could smite, and his sword against demons is going to do 3 damage as well, because he can do those mortal wounds. So yeah, I think if anyone disagrees with a 10 on specialization, someone tell me what this list is going to be weak against. You have to kill the character within 3, but the power works within 12 for 1 CP. Is it that close? Is it? Let me double check. Inquisition Stratagems. It's called, I believe it's... Oh yeah, okay, so if you're within 3 when an enemy character dies, but why would you not be within 3 with Hector Rex? And that we've talked about him being super survivable, he's got a solid 3++ armor save. How many CP do you start with? I guess the CP will depend. So 9 CP and then -3, so you start with 6, is that right? If you start with 5 or 6... Hey Bascula, how you doing? Then I guess the fact that you can farm CP as well here, yeah, I think it's I think this might be the first 10. We've seen 9.5s in specialization before, but I don't think we've seen 10 before. But I think Hector Rex and the fact that you can actually farm, I mean, he can potentially get you what 8 more CP. No Saturday stream. There was no Saturday stream this week. I was out of town, Robert. That's why I was out of town, and then I met someone who had met someone with COVID. It was a big nightmare. So the guy I met is negative, and I'm negative, but we cancelled a live game tonight and thought we'd do this stream instead. So yeah, no, I like it. I guess you got to try it, and then if you try it and you have problems, I would consider the Litany of Hate, as we mentioned, on the Primaries Chaplin. I would also think about maybe attack bikes, because Eradicators aren't that mobile. Maybe the Teleport Homer might be better served as an Infernal Pistol, but when you already have 21 3 damage weapons or above, then I guess you don't really need that normal Infernal Pistol. Normally we're talking about people who have like 10 3 damage weapons, or give or take. So yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting list. I think you get scored down on the lack of mobility and the lack of OBSEC, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a weak list. It just means that those are 2 things you've had to give up to get really strong in other areas. And as I say, you can never make a perfect list that's going to be strong in every situations. Heavy Eradicators aren't mobile at all. Yeah, I think that's heavy. I agree with that. Heavy Eradicators aren't mobile at all, but if the enemy does come to you, then they're super strong. And regular Eradicators aren't super mobile either, remember, because if you do advance them, you only get to shoot once, and the strength of Eradicators really is the fact that they can shoot twice. So advancing them to make them -1 to hit and only shooting half the number of shots is kind of, you know, it is what it is. Like, I guess that's probably why I think attack bikes are generally still the best option, even though they went up in cost. And I don't dislike Eradicators. I really don't. I think they're a great unit. But I think attack bikes, you know, going down in cost, or even at the new costs, I think attack bikes are very good. Alright, Camille, I hope that was useful. If you did need to save some points, I guess you could probably run a couple of Terminators with Lightning Claws to save a few points here and there. Like if we were desperate to get the attack bikes, let's say, we only need 30 points for this squad of heavy melta rifle Eradicators, right? Could you drop 2 Storm Shields and Thunder Hammers off the Terminators? I mean, Terminators with double Lightning Claws are not bad either. That gives you 20 points right there. So at that point, you just need to find 10 more points, which I guess, you know, you could run just a Lightning Claw on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. I mean, that's still okay. I think it's still okay. And then you're like 3 points away from finding enough points to bring attack bikes. So I think there's probably a way you could do it. Yeah, what did I say? You'd only be 3 points away, so you could drop one lightning claw off another guy and just run a chainsword. So you could drop one lightning claw here, you could make that a lightning claw, and you could drop 2 sets of thunder hammers. I think 19 3-damage weapons is still perfect, and yeah, that would let you swap that heavy melter rifle squad for 3 attack bikes with multi-meltas, which I think chat is basically on my side here, saying although heavy melter rifles do a lot of damage, I think there's situations where if the enemy's not going to come to you and you have to go to the enemy, these guys lose huge amount of effectiveness, where attack bikes don't really lose any of that. So cool. Okay, 42 out of 50. How if we did swap out those attack bikes, I guess you'd probably get like another half point in mobility. I don't think you would really lose anything on the other categories. You might even get another half point in anti-infantry, because your attack bikes do give you 12 bolter shots per turn, so it's good for clearing out chaff units as well. And they also have 1 more wound. Yeah. I might do that. I think that. I mean, I think 5 Terminators, 2 with Lightning Claws, and the rest with Thunderhammer Storm Shields are still pretty survivable. Yeah. And do you know what? I have actually had to run my Vanguard Veterans like that, where I think in my current list, I'm running 3 with Lightning Claw, 1 with Chainsword, and the Sergeant with Infernal Pistol and Lightning Claw, because they went up in points, I didn't want to have to drop more things out of my list. So I think if you do that, this squad loses 10 points exactly and becomes 147. And I think they're still good, you know? Just have to be smart with how you use your attacks, I guess. Alright, cool. Next up is Kevin's list, and I think I saw Kevin in the chat a few minutes ago. So good evening, Kevin. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we can give you some advice on making your list better as well. I use the Terminators as a bullet sponge after deep strike and a charge. Yeah, I mean, I think they can still be a bullet sponge with you know, they still have a 2+ save, right? When you get hit with like really you choose what you save on. So save on the storm shields if you think it's necessary, or if it's not necessary, save on the guys with lightning claws. They still have a 5+ save. It's only one number less, right, than the storm shield in terms of invulnerable save. So it's not. If you need to find the 20 points or the 30 points, then that's where I would find it, I guess. Is all I'm trying to say. All right. So Kevin says, hopefully this one's better than my last submission. I do not remember your last submission, Kevin. Sorry, I go through a lot of lists on stream. Alright, so we start with a captain on a bike. He's a gift of foresight. He has a chainsword. He's upgraded Chapter Master, Infernal Pistol, and he has the Teeth of Terra. And he has the Angel's Exemplar. What? You're missing something. Angel's Exemplar lets you take... So you've got Gift of Foresight and you've got the Teeth of Terra. Angel's Exemplar lets you do one more thing, right? So what is your one more thing? Like, is it supposed to be Adamantium Mantle like Iran, or are you master crafting the Infernal Pistol, or definitely able to do one more thing here unless I'm being really dumb. And this list is a battalion and it starts with 9 CP. Okay. We then have Librarian Dreadnought, Quickening, Shield, Wings, Chief Librarian, Iron Resolve, Meltagan, Hero of the Chapter. I like everything about this. This is pretty much exactly how I run my Librarian, just sometimes I don't upgrade him to Chief and drop Shield, but it makes sense to have some sort of way to shield him because that is his one weakness. Alright, then I think what you meant to put here, probably if you're copying my Chapter Masters that I can't spell, add Adamantium Mantle, which gives you the 5 triple plus, right? So you basically just feel no pain on a 5+, which is very good when you already get to reroll basically 2 saves per battle round, and you already have let me think, you're in toughness 5 and you got 6 wounds. I think Adamantium Mantle is going to be your best bet here. I've used Terminators to deep strike into the middle of area for oaths. 4 shield and the Sergeant with claws, and I've seen them take on Thunderwolf cavalry and chug off huge amounts of small arms fire. It's an odd one with Terminators. They're kind of tanky and kind of not. Historically, mass amounts of chip damage was very reliable to clear them. Yeah, I mean, I guess the difference with the Storm Shield now is that the Storm Shield Terminators essentially save on 1+, right? So like if they get hit with -1 AP, they're still saving on 2s. So I can understand why the Storm Shield Terminators are very good. What does +++ mean? So 1+ means your normal save, 2+ means your invulnerable save, triple+ means you feel no pain. So, you know, when you get hit and you've got to take the wounds, it's like the Death Company. Triple+ means that on a 5+ you ignore the wounds even after you failed your saves. Actarial. I hope I said that right. Alright. And then we have our Sangri Priest, who has the jump pack, and he's the Chief Apothecary, and he's the Selfless Healer, which everybody... yeah, even mortal wounds, 100%. All failed saves and all mortal wounds. 5 triple plus is what that does, yes. Alright, so we then have Incursors, Infiltrators, and this is a very solid troop choice, right? This is like 3 Phobos troops is like super strong in terms of map control, in terms of scoring primaries, in terms of OBSEC. I love 3 Phobos troop units. You do give up a little bit of killing power, but what you give up in killing power, you probably gain back in map control. And, you know, the Phobos are very mobile as well with guerrilla tactics, so it makes scoring some of your secondaries very easy with the 3 Phobos choices. We then have a Redemptor, 2 Fragstorm grenade launcher, rocket pods, plasma, and onslaught. And I think this is absolutely fine. The Fragstorm is better against than the Stormbolter against Horde armies, but the Stormbolter and Fragstorm, they're almost 6 and half a dozen. Like, the difference between them is very minute. You only get 18 inches on the Fragstorm, whereas you get 24 on the Stormbolter. But the Fragstorm obviously has the potential to get more shots against Horde-based armies, so almost no difference. General question for chat: what do you think is better, Feel No Pain or Reanimation Protocols? Reanimation can be very annoying. I think it can actually be better in some cases, but I guess when the unit gets wiped, then reanimation becomes useless. So probably on average, it's probably about the same, actually, right? Because if you wipe the unit in one attack with like 6 or 10 failed saves, then they don't get any reanimation. So probably Feel No Pain in some situations can actually be more reliable. We then have a Sanguine Guard, and it is 7 with all swords, and like we talk a lot about this, you know, swords are still the best option for Sanguine Guard, unless I suppose you're fighting like Death Guard, or Custodes, then axes maybe slightly pull ahead, but yeah, Sword Sangre Guard are pretty good. We then have a big squad of Vanguard Veterans, 2, 4, 6, I can't count, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, all with Lightning Claws and Storm Shield. I for sure would drop the Storm Shield on the Sergeant and get an Infernal Pistol in there. If you think about it this way, right, your Sergeant's only going to die after all your other models die, so you can take all your saves to begin with on these Storm Shields. Having the Infernal Pistol on the Sergeant is, I feel, a really important idea, or really, it's just a way to get like a potential bunch of damage. And look, like, you can just magnetize these. Look, here's literally a Vanguard Veteran Storm Shield arm with a little magnet in it. So I just have this one magnetized so that I can switch out an Infernal Pistol onto the Sergeant if I want to, and I think it's very good. We then have our Tap Bites Multi-Meltas, and this list is using the new points again, so this is correct. Inceptors, Plasmas. So we talked a little bit about Plasma Inceptors since they went up in costs, and we kind of said Plasma Inceptors are still good for the points costs. They feel expensive, but they are still good. You just probably need to get the most out of them, drop them near the captain on the bike so they can reroll their ones. And then we have the Whirlwind with the Vengeance Launcher. So I would for sure drop the Vengeance Launcher and get the Castellan Launcher. I don't think the Vengeance Launcher brings too much to the table. You want the more shots you get from the Castellan to guarantee that Suppression Fire always works. So I would save your 10 points here. The there is other places you could spend them very easily. You know, we could get one Infernal Pistol into the Sangri Guard. I kind of recommend that as well, just because the last guy with his one Infernal Pistol can always do a pop shot in combat for a lot of damage. So that would be 5 points easily spent. Where else could we spend 5 points? Possibly. What was your list coming in at 199? So that would give you 6 points left over. Oh, I'd have to think. Where could we spend 6 points? I'm not actually sure where we could spend 6 points in this list. Interesting. I suppose the other option... I don't know how you could spend... Someone in chat give me tell me where we could spend the 6 points. But I don't think the Vengeance Launcher is worth it. I did a Math Hammer video actually on the Vengeance Launcher. Maybe, like, you'll find it on my channel. And the Vengeance Launcher, when you actually break down the math, it does like so little extra damage over the castle, and it just makes suppression fire a little bit more risky. So I just wouldn't do it. Hey Panlord, thanks for subscribing. Good evening. I don't have bolter ones, so I went with plasma. I mean, that's fair enough if you don't have the plasmas are still good. Don't let me scare you off the bolter ones. Like, plasma and scepters are still a very good squad. They still do a lot of damage for their points, even with the increases. I think if they increase them again, then maybe think about bolter ones. Levi says, yeah, Infernal Pistol and the Sangre Guard could be good since it's a big squad. I kind of agree with that. I always find that my Sangri Guard almost never get wiped in a single turn, so there's always one around, still alive. And then the interesting thing was against the game last week against Andrew or something, when you're going to resurrect a model, you could decide, like, hey, if I resurrect one and I move him closer from the resurrection, because obviously when you resurrect them you put them back into coherency, you can almost resurrect the Infernal Pistol model a little bit closer to get a pop shot off with the Infernal Pistol. It's kind of a it's a little tactic or a little strategy that you can get some value out of. Someone actually said in the group this week, and this is a really interesting idea that I'd never heard of before, could you spend the points for a Thunderhammer on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant if you drop the Lightning Claw and the Storm Shield? A Thunderhammer is 12 points. So it would be 9 more than Lightning Claw. Yeah, you could actually do that. You could put a Thunderhammer on your Vanguard Veteran Sergeant rather than Infernal Pistol idea. So I guess there is ways. Yeah, I don't think the Vengeance Launcher is going to do you much good. But overall, the lists. I mean, if your last list got rated badly, this list isn't going to get rated badly, Kevin. This is a solid list. I'm thinking that. Yeah, do you know what? Off topic. Someone said to me, imagine. Do I have some models? Yeah, do you know what? I've got some models in front of me, or just behind me. Let me show you this example. And someone from the chat quickly, or there's a few people in the chat, right? Guys, tell me what you think of this, right? Let's say this Blade Guard veteran is an enemy model, right? So he's here, and I want to charge him. And let's say my Sangri Guard had 2 men left, right? And they're here. And let's imagine this distance is 9 inches, right? So my Sangri Guard upon Wings of Fired last turn, and this turn I'm going to bring my Sangri Guard in on the board, you know, they leave in the turn, they come back down the next turn, right? So my Sangri Guard left, and they're going to arrive next turn. However, this Sangri Guard had more models in it, right? So this 9 inches means that I need to roll an 8 on my charge, because Blood Angels get +1. So, what happens though if I jump my Priest next to the Sangri Guard, and then I resurrect a Sangri Guard within coherency 2 inches forward from the last guy? I've just given myself a 6 charge when I arrive from Deep Strike, or when I arrive upon Wings of Fire. Now, this only works if your Sanguine Guard, or whatever unit are coming in, has lost some units, right? Because you need to be able to resurrect one. So, a very interesting play. Some of you guys I know use Reziel, for example. You use Forlong Fury all the time, right? So you Forlorn Fury your Death Company in, you lose some of the models, but you do the kill, then you upon Wings of Fire them out. Now when you're going to bring them back in, you bring them back in 9 inches away, like we said, but when we res run of them in Coherency, we put them... Actually, this is going to make it less than a 6, because that's going to be 2 inches there. So if this guy's base is another inch, I've basically just given myself... I've arrived from Deep Strike, I'm going to need to roll like a 5 on the charge. So I've almost given myself a guaranteed charge. Now, someone just said that in Discord, and I wasn't 100% sure. When I thought about it first, I was like, I'm not 100% sure, but actually, when you think about it, like, I don't see any reason that isn't a valid rule. So, you would call me a cheeky bastard, but I can't see anything that says you can't? Yeah, so here's a thought for you guys. If you've lost a model in the unit that you're upon Wings of Firing in, and you've got your priest somewhere else, you can almost give yourself like a 4-inch, 5-inch charge if you're really smart with your unit placement. And it's no different from Necron shenanigans when they revive. You're 100% right, Jar Miniatures. Brent, sorry, what millimeter bases do you use on attack bikes? I went with 80 millimeters since they don't actually have bases. Can we just choose? I want to say I have my attack bikes on the same size bases as like your chicken dreadnoughts, right? And I think that's an 80. Technically, there's a website, Brent, that you're supposed... There's a website that tells you what bases to use for all models. I don't remember what the website is off the top of my head. I have been to it recently. If you're in Discord, if you tag me, it's like a tournament website that has the correct bases. Because, yeah, some of the older models got sold without bases. And, so I use this type of play a lot myself, except I play against a lot of Farsight Enclaves, so you never begin a charge from them in closer than 6.1 inches away. Okay, but yeah, I think if you're clever with your resurrections, you can cut down your charges big time. Attack bikes don't have bases, but you can put them on bases. And I believe all the older models can be put on bases now, because I actually think if you buy them now, they don't come with bases, but like a lot of people do put them on bases. And I'm sure they're the same size as the dreadnoughts, which I think you're right. I think you're right in saying that they're 80s. Okay, so attack bikes with multi-meltas, Inceptors with plasmas, great choices. Whirlwind, maybe a little tweak there. Vanguard Veterans and Sangri Guard, great options. Redemptor, 3 OBSEC units, and then 3 strong HQ units. It's hard to really fault anything in particular on the list. Kevin, we're going to go with a 9 for OBSEC here, in that we've got 3 troop units, and they're also all Phobos. Anti-infantry, we have a bit of firepower, right? We have like our Inceptors, we have our troop units, we have a Gatling cannon, we maybe have some rocket prods, fragstorm, bolters. I would guess it's probably similar to the list we just looked at. Anti-vehicle or monster, I mean, we're in a good state. We've got those plasmas, we've got the multi-melt attack bikes, we can res them, we've got a Debtor Dreadnought, we've got like a pretty survivable captain with the Teeth of Terra, we've got Librarian Dreadnought. I think you're up on like a 9 for monster. I think you probably just don't hit 9.5 because, you know, we've taken 3 troop choices, but obviously we've got a lot more OBSEC to counter that. Mobility-wise, I think the only thing that isn't really mobile is the Dreadnought, because obviously all of the troop choices can guerrilla tactics. I don't think that the Dreadnought necessarily feels like it's going to be a problem, so I think your mobility is maybe 8.5. It might even be a 9. it's a tough one. We'll go with 8-5, I think. And then 3 damage weapons. I think we've got the 3 multi-meltas here. We talked about maybe getting a Thunderhammer on the Sergeant, and I actually think that's probably a good idea. Or, if not a Thunderhammer on the Sergeant, a few more Infernal Pistols mixed in, because 3 damage weapons I think are a little bit low. We've got the 3 multi-meltas. We've got the Plasma and the Fist on the Dreadnought, that gives us 5. We then have the Librarian Dreadnought, who's got the Meltagun and the Fist and the Halberd. I guess we count that as 7. And then the Infernal Pistol and the Captain, 8. So yeah, I think the weakness here is we're missing a couple of 8 3 damage weapons is a little bit low. I think I usually tell people to aim for about 10. We do have 2 denies. We do also have the Whirlwind to the fight last. And, you know, we do generally have very good board control and stuff. So, probably maybe like a 7, just because we're down a little bit, I think, on 3 damage weapons. And maybe it's a little bit harsh, actually. Maybe it's a 7.5. But I think if you come up against Death Guard with this list, or maybe even Custodes, Custodes with a lot of Dreadnoughts, I think you're going to have problems. Because I came up against Custodes list that had like 8 Dreadnoughts, and I was running a very similar 3 troop battalion against it, and yeah, I lost, and I don't lose that often. So yeah, let's say 7-5, and I think in general, like as an all-round list, this is pretty good. And I've personally moved away from this, though. I feel like three troop choices is fine, and I guess you're starting with a lot of CP. Yeah, so I think we looked at a list very similar to this maybe a few weeks back now by I think it was you, Tony. Oh, and you were saying that your attack bites came with 80mm. I think it was Tony or Mark. I forget exactly, but a list like this is not a million miles away from that, and I think this is one of the strongest battalions you can run, right? And I think most people who are running this battalion are running the same thing, like the attack bikes, the Inceptors, the Redemptor, and then like Sangri Guard, Vanguard Veterans, 3 Phobos troops, and then sort of these 3 HQ, or like a Chapter Master, a Sangri Priest, and then +1. Some people like Librarian Dread, some people like the Librarian and a Jump Pack. Dread bases are 65. Alright, then I'm sure that the bikes must be on 80s then. I will check though, I can take a photo for you. Is it modelling for disadvantage? Is what modelling for disadvantage? Putting the bikes on a base? It was Mark's list from a few weeks back. Alright, so you could, Kevin, you could also watch a few weeks ago. I can probably tell you where we did it. Did I not highlight it? Where was Mark? Okay, this is more than a few weeks ago, I guess. Mark Jackson from the 16th of May. He scored like a point and a half higher than you from his battalion. So I guess if you go back and look at the army show from like the 16th of May, I think I put the dates on them, so it should be easy to find. It's going to be very similar, and it's going to score, you know, a point and a half higher than yours. Bear in mind that was actually on the old points, so it might be very similar now. But yeah, I think in terms of like building a battalion, if you need to take those 3 troop choices, and then you have to use the strength of the Phobos, then this is about as strong as you can get. So no major complaints here. More 3 damage weapons. Get rid of the Vengeance Launcher, and maybe if things aren't working out for you, I guess the one thing you could do is you could drop 1 Vanguard Veteran and maybe make some switches around the list with the points you free up from that. Maybe Chapter Master might be interesting. You know, like I often say Chapter Master. Oh, sorry, this is a Chapter Master. Sorry, the cheap points cost is because he's got just the Teeth of Terra. Yeah, you could do a Thunderhammer, I guess, on the Chapter Master, maybe. You could actually do the Hammer of Baal here. I was going to say, if you only have 8 3 damage weapons, then maybe yeah, if like I said, if you fight against Death Guard or a lot of Custode Dreadnoughts, you might have some problems. And also, one thing I noticed this week, actually, with the... You're still using that list, Mark, and it's gone 2-0. Alright, that's good to know. The one thing that I noticed that was good about Thunderhammers is against... what's the new sister's character? The High Lord Morgan Val? Morton Val or something? Thunderhammers are very good against her, right? Because she halves your damage in rounds up. So Thunderhammers still do 2 damage against her, whereas like the Teeth of Terra would just do 1. So that's something to consider as well. But overall, it's a cool list, Kevin. And I think it's... sorry, I don't remember your last one, but this list seems like it could be strong. And I think from this, you have a great plateau, right? Like, if you play a few games and you're like, man, I don't know if I need 3 troop choices, then great. Drop one of these troop choices, make it a double patrol list, and then that gives you 120 points to either take another character, or takes, 120 points, if you think about it, is 4 more Sangri Guard. You could put 4 more Sangri Guard in their own little squad. 120 points is actually 3 Bolter and Scepters. So there's loads you can do here, and this is a great base. So hopefully that was helpful. My ma got me a servo turret and heavy intercessors for my birthday. Anyway, they can be used well with Blood Angels. Do you mean the Fire Strike turret? If it's the Fire Strike turret, Cuthbo, you definitely want to have the twin autocannon on it. It is way too expensive with Las Talons. And heavy intercessors, we talked about them this week, I think, me and Tony, and we think the auto bolt guns are going to be your best option. And I think if you run them, 5 of them with auto bolt guns. The auto bolt guns on the heavy intercessors have good range, right? I think they're like 30 inches. Let me just double check that. Hold on. Heavy intercessors. Hellstorm bolt rifles, 30 inches, assault 3. Strength 5, 1 damage. I think that's probably going to be your best bet. Run them into the middle of the board. Have them hold the middle for Oath of Moment. Have them pepper out 15 Strength 5, 1 damage shots per turn. If you've got something else in the middle of the board there with them, which I like to do, something like Vanguard Veterans or something, I think you're going to get a lot of value out of them. Okay, so next we're going to look at Daiochi Bazaars list, and I have no idea if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I'm saying it close. Here we go then. Alright, so he's new to Warhammer 40,000 and the channel, so he's posting it right. Yeah, you posted it right, I've got it, I guess. So it's a 1999 point list, and it's 1 patrol and it's 1 Vanguard. And the patrol starts with the Primaris Captain, who is the Warlord. He has the Gift of Foresight, he has a heavy bolt pistol, he's a Master-crafted Power Sword and Relic Shield. Alright, so this is the Primaris Captain from the Indomitus box. We also have the Primaris Librarian with Quickening and Wings of Sanguinius. I think if you're taking the Primaris Librarian, I think he synergizes better with Space Marine Psychic Powers, rather the Primaris Librarian isn't a beat stick. And these powers try and make him a beat stick. I think you're probably better off taking like Psychic Fortress / Null Zone maybe, or Might of Heroes. I don't necessarily think he synergizes so well with these because he doesn't have an invulnerable save, and the 0 AP is a bummer. I mean, 0 AP... Sure. I mean, there is ways you could get some AP, Veil of Time might be a good one as well. Let's see what else he's got, right? So he's got 9 Assault Intercessors. We then have 3 Aggressors with the Bolt Storms, 3 Blade Guard Veterans, a dedicated transport, which is a Razorback with a Hunter Killer and a Twiz Las Cannon. And then the second detachment, which is the Vanguard, we have the Librarian Dreadnought, Quickening Shield, and the Storm Bolter. Bear in mind that you've got Quickening on 2 characters now, so yeah, 100% I think you need to go with Space Marine Psychic Powers on this Librarian. Just put Quickening and Wings on your Librarian Dreadnought. We then have the Primaries Lieutenant, who has a Neo-Volkite pistol. So again, it's the Indomitus Primaries Lieutenant, which I kind of like. I actually think this Primaries Lieutenant is pretty good. I think he's the best lieutenant you can get for 90 points. We then have a squad of Incursors with the Haywire Mine, so that they cannot be charged that easily. I'm trying to work out... Oh yeah, okay. And then elites, we've got a tactical warsuit, we've got a Judicar, sorry, a Redemptor Dreadnought with macro, onslaught, and pods. 5 Sangri Guard, 1 Power Fist, 2 Swords, 2 Axes. I think the Power Fist is definitely wasted points right now in the Sangri Guard. The additional +1 it's going to give you to wound, you're going to lose the -1 on the hit roll. So I think it's very much wasted points. And then Vanguard Veterans with Jump Packs, Storm Shields, Relic Blade, Power Fist, Thunderhammer, Chain Swords, Lightning Claws. Okay, 1 Relic Blade, 1 Power Fist, 1 Thunderhammer, 1 Chain Sword, and then 2 times Lightning Claws. It's a little bit messy just having them all written out like this. I think your Power Fist is probably wasted points. I'd probably try and get... I'd probably just try and drop the Power Fist and drop the Chain Sword and just have 3 guys with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields. I think that's going to do more damage. I actually have a bunch of Vanguard Veterans with Power Fists and Thunderhammers finished painting, and I don't run them. The Thunderhammer works well if it's the Sergeant for the additional attack, otherwise not so well. And the Power Fists are 8 points, whereas like a Lightning Claw is 3, so I think you're going to be better off doing 2 Lightning Claws over 1 Power Fist and 1 Chainsword, honestly. The rerolls on the wounds on the Lightning Claws is so strong. The Razorback doesn't make a super amount of sense to me here, right? Because he's got nothing that can actually go in the Razorback. Because the Vanguard Veterans are wearing jump packs. What's the transport capacity of a Razorback? I don't think I've actually ever owned a Razorback, honestly. It never felt like something that I really needed when I played Blood Angels back in like the earlier editions. Razorback transport capacity is 6 infantry. Yeah, so he's got nothing that can actually go in the Razorback then, because the Vanguard Veterans and the Sangri Guard have jump packs, and he's got an Impulsor, and bar the Primaries Lieutenant and the Primaries Librarian, and I guess the Primaries Captain, and the Blade Guard Veterans. Okay, so we do have something we can put in the Impulsor, because you can't put Aggressors in Impulsor, because they're Gravis. Yeah, so I guess the Razorback's just fire support. And I think you're right. Some of them are just the stock units. He did say he's a newer player, so I guess he needs some. So Razorback's 120 points, and yeah, if this was me, I'd probably actually just lose the Razorback completely and just go with an 8-man Sangri Guard. I think Sangri Guard need to be in squads of 7 to 9 to get the most value out of them. And then here's the problem. None of his HQs are going to keep up with the Sangri Guard, and the Sangri Guard are 100% best if they're around the Warlord. So if this was me, the first thing I would do is drop the Razorback, use 90 of those 120 points to get 3 more Sangri Guards, so we're looking at like 8, and then use the other 30 points to switch out this Primaris Captain for, and if we're doing this on the budget, the Primaris Chaplin on a bike for 115 points is he's a really cool model. He can get like a 4 damage Crozius very, very easily. A 4 damage Crozius that does mortal wounds on 6s. So I think like if you're a new player, Daiochi, and you need to know what you need to buy next, I would say you need 3 more Sangri Guard and you want a Primaris Chaplain on a bike. I think that gets you a fast moving HQ that can go with the Sangri Guard, or you buy someone like, you could buy Dante. Let's not rule out Dante completely. Or you could buy just like a regular Space Marine with a jump pack, and aggressors can't go in impulsors because they're Gravis. I've played against someone else that made that same mistake, so it does happen, John. It says on their profile that they cannot carry Gravis models. I don't know why. Impulsors are a really strange one. The fact that they can only carry 6 anyway is a strange one, considering they're basically the same size chassis as the Repulsor, but the Repulsor carries 10 and it's got loads more guns, so it already doesn't make sense that way. At some point, Games Workshop will make the transport laws a little bit better, I guess. The Indomitus Captain with Angel's Artifice and Adamantium makes him incredibly durable. Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing against this Captain except that he's not mobile, and the Sanguine Guard are going to be super mobile, and that's their strength, right? What about the other units we've got? I also generally say don't ever take more than one transport. I think transports are like 5 or 6% of your army cost. If you're taking 2 of them, you're now sacrificing over 10% of your army, and 10% of your army just to get things around for Blood Angel's army feels wrong to me when we get jump packs for like 2 points per model, or I guess maybe the Vanguard Veterans, they made it 3 points per model now, but we don't need to be spending 10% of our costs, to get like a transport that's like, maybe not so much the Razorback because it actually has a twin las cannon on it, but like the guns on these other transports, like it's like a crack missile or something and a stubber, like they're not really going to end up doing much throughout the course of the battle. Maybe you get a lucky hit. To be honest, 2 las cannons are not going to do that much, right? Hitting on 3s, so, and then probably wounding on like 3s, so you're really going to just probably make the enemy make like 1 save per turn against a las cannon. And we all know when you only get 1 las cannon through, when you roll your damage, you roll a 1 anyway, so, las cannons are... I think las cannons are one of these things where you need weight of fire, and you don't have weight of fire with just 2 of them. So I think the Razorback needs swapped out. I guess you can hold the middle of the board with aggressors and the Blade Guard Veterans, and the Blade Guard Veterans, and they could be in the Impulsor with something else. The Tactical War Suit, to me, I haven't had great luck with Tactical War Suits, right? If you think about them, they're only like 20 points cheaper than a Redemptor. The Redemptor has 1 more toughness and also has -1 to all damage. I probably agree with what Smithy's saying, actually. If you're going to use a Razorback, use it with like twin assault cannons or twin heavy bolters, right? Like, you need weight of fire. We could put the Blade Guard and the Captain inside the Impulsor. You're 100% right, but I think even then, the second the battle gets going, the Captain's going to again fall behind from the Sangri Guard, and I think the Sangri Guard benefit immensely from being next to the Warlord, right? And in some ways, that's one of the reasons that I love the Captain on the bike, because you get that guaranteed 20-inch move with the advance, and that means that I can pretty much always position my Captain to be within 6 inches of Sangri Guard, so my Sangri Guard are always hitting on 2s, they're always rerolling 1s. When you have 40 attacks, from 8 guys with swords, the fact that you can basically, usually when I roll the 40 attacks hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, usually once we've done all the hits and the rerolls, we hit like 39 times. It's kind of ridiculous. It's almost guaranteed hits if you can keep your Captain up with the Sangri Guard. So I would recommend that we get something more mobile. And it doesn't have to be a Captain on a bike. It can be a Chaplin on a bike, or a Primaris Chaplain on a bike. It could be a Captain with a jump pack. But and I think with the other things you have, right, the Primaris Librarian, the Primaris Lieutenant, they can both be in that Impulsor with your Blade Guard. They can hold the middle of the board very successfully. Thanks for hanging out, Tony. Nice to see you. Invictuses, the war suits are also impacted by the rule of 2. Yeah, I think if you have 1 war suit, the enemy can get rid of it and kill it very quickly. I think it's the sort of thing that works better if there's 2. And I think right now, I just think the Redemptors are in a much stronger place than the Warsuit as well. You know, like the Redemptor, I feel like it's just going to do more damage. It's just going to survive longer. Warsuits are not bad. Maybe if you have a Warsuit and a Redemptor, and you, that's possibly okay. But if you're going to deploy very aggressively with the Warsuit and you only have one of them, you know, it's not that strong in turn 1 Jar Miniatures. If I remember correctly, the Warsuit only has 4 attacks, right? And you're only hitting on 3s. And in turn 1... Is it 4 attacks? Yeah, so it's 4 attacks. So you get 5 attacks in turn 1. You know, so I guess that's not horrific. 5 attacks, hitting on 3s. So you hit 3.3 times. What are you, strength 7? Okay, so it's strength 14. So I guess you do wound on 2s. But, I mean, you're really only going to force the enemy on average to take 2 or 3 saves at, what, -3? Because it's turn 1 again. So even like a tactical marine, like if you charge into a squad of tactical marines, you kill 2 or 3, and if the enemy makes a couple of lucky saves, you kill 1 model. You know, like it's really not that effective. That's my experience of it. You know, I've charged it in turn 1 expecting to kill a few models, and I've killed like 1, and I've been like, wow, okay, I killed 1 model, and then I just get the enemy just falls back and shoots you off the table, because you're only toughness 6, right? So yeah, no duty eternal either. I mean, the guns are okay again, but remember the thing about the guns though is you don't really want to shoot the target you're going to try and charge, right? Because you, if you shoot the target you're going to try and charge, the enemy's going to take those models away from the front and make it harder to charge you, make it harder for you to make those charges. So I think tactical warsuits are in a funny place for me. On paper they look really good, but like in my experience of them, like I never once was like, wow, that tactical warsuit did a lot of work. Like it just, I mean, I guess the concealed positions, like you say, the concealed positions make you think like, oh, this is great, you know, but like really, I think it's just the fact that it's not survivable and the alpha strike part of it isn't strong enough. So maybe if you're going to run, if you're going to run 3 tactical warsuits, and you know, deploy super aggressively and try and make the turn 1 charge with 3 of them, and you know, pepper out a few enemy units, yeah, maybe I could get on board with that. But the fact that like it's going to be a huge commitment, right? So the chances are you're just going to run 1, and 1's not going to do any work. The model does look amazing. You know what? I don't have one, and I want to get one just because the model looks so good. But yeah. All right, let's try and do some scoring. So OBSEC, we've got 2 troop choices: 1 squad of Incursors, 1 squad of Assault Intercessors. So we're going to go with like a 7.5, and it is a 10-man squad, or sorry, a 9-man squad of Assault Intercessors. So they can do some work if they get into combat. They can obviously fight twice against enemy hordes. How are we going to do? I mean, we might do some work with this Invictor. We might do some work with a Redemptor. We have some bolters from the Sanguine Guard. I guess we've got some bolters from the from the Razorback, some fire from the Impulsor. We've got the auto bolt storms, but they're not likely to be in range in turn 1 or anything like that. So I guess anti-horde infantry probably feels like an 8. Like we're probably a little bit lighter on firepower. You know, we've got no Inceptors, which obviously do a lot of work. We're slightly lighter on the Sanguine Guard. And none of our HQ are really shooting based either. So yeah, anti-horde infantry I guess would be like an 8, I think. Anti-vehicle or monster. It's weird, the Vanguard Veteran squad are kind of set up to do some anti-monster, what with the Thunderhammer and the Power Fist and the Relic Blade and the double Lightning Claws, and obviously they get Melta Bombs. So that's something. The Sangri Guard to me feel like they're a little too small. The Redemptor can do some anti-monster. The Invictor can, if it doesn't get killed. The Librarian Dreadnought, I think, really needs wings. Otherwise, he's just going to be too slow. And I would change out the Primaries Lieutenant thing as well, like I said that already. So I think anti-monster is probably about 8 as well. It feels... He is a new player, right? So he does have a bit of a mishmash of units, I guess, would be the fair way to say it. So, I guess, yeah, because he's got a bit of mishmash. I feel like it's probably like an 8. You know, we've got no Eradicators, we've got no heavy melta guns, or we've got no multi-meltas, so we might suffer a little bit against enemy armor, firepower, and stuff like that. Mobility, even with these 2 transports, I think is one of this list's biggest problems, maybe. Andy, thank you for subscribing. So, because nothing can go in the Razorback, and then none of our characters are really mobile. The Assault Intercessors obviously aren't mobile, the Aggressors aren't mobile, so I'm guessing like a 7 here. I think... I don't know why this is... Oh yeah, okay. I think... I mean, overall, I think it's an okay beginner's list. I just don't think it's super competitive. And then 3 damage weapons, I feel like we're going to be very lacking here. We've got 1, I guess 2, 3 from the Las Cannon, 4 from the Dreadnought, 5 from this, and then 6, and then the Missile Ray. So about 7 3 damage weapons. You know, we do have 2 Psychers, so we do have a decent amount of denies, but we do not have any fight first or fight last counter. So I'd take like 2 points off for only having 7 3 damage weapons, another 2 points off for not having any way to counter fight first or fight last. 3 denies is okay, and then I guess we have a decent bit of concealed position, so we'd have some board control, but not a lot. So maybe like a 6. Haywire counts as a D3 damage weapon. I wouldn't count single fire weapons, I guess, in that jar miniatures, just because we're looking at sort of consistent damage throughout the game, you know. And I don't even think you can trigger the Haywire Mine, right, unless you get charged. Does the Teleporter Homer happen on the same round or the next? It happens in the next round, D-King. Similar to Upon Wings of Fire or Guerrilla Tactics now. Okay, so yeah, I think I've mentioned a few ways how this list could be improved, and I think probably maybe just like, well, you know what, we're doing a lot of tier list videos at the moment. I'm sure when we get to elites and we talk about tactical war suits, I can't imagine they're going to be getting placed very highly at all. So I feel like there may be like a C if you had to ask me. Where like Redemptors are maybe a B, and then, you know, we have obviously like Sanguine Guard, which are probably A's, and Vanguard Veterans, which are probably A's or even S's. So I'd beef up these squads before I took the Tactical War Suit. It doesn't say next turn, it says next reinforcement. No, they FAQ'd it, D-King, so it is 100% the next turn now. Alright, so that is Daiochi's list, and then we're going to move on to James Bravo, list number 4 for today. James Bravo. I hope I'm posting this in the right place. Yes, you are, James. So here we are, and do you know what? I guess this is maybe something similar in that this looks like a bit of a new player list as well. Primaris Captain, Auto Bolt Rifle, Power Sword, Warlord, Iron Resolve, Gifted Foresight, Archangel Shard. Okay, interesting. So he's got the sword that can do 4 damage against Chaos. He's a Primaris Librarian. This time we have Psychic Fortress and Veil of Time, so that's much better than the last list. Primaris Chaplin, Crozius, Master of Sanctity, Canticle of Hate, Mantra of Strength, and Wise Orator. I really think that the extra 30 points you pay to get this guy on a bike it's 100% worth it, right? Like, I think I would rather have, because on a bike he's 115 points, so he's got him at 110 points with the Master of Sanctity. I feel like he's better on a bike without the Master of Sanctity as opposed to the Master of Sanctity not on the bike, because he's not going to be where you need him to be. His 6-inch move is going to be meh. Whereas, like, if he's on the bike, it's a 14-inch move or a potential 20 guaranteed move if you use overcharged engines. So yeah, I would be first thing I'm going to be doing on this as we go through this list is to try and find what 5 points so that we can make this guy on a bike. We then have regular intercessors. You know what? We found the point straight away. It's a squad of intercessors with bolt rifles, and we've got a grenade launcher. I think 5 points on a grenade launcher is not worth it at all, right? Like, frag grenades and crack grenades are the most lackluster thing in the game to me. Like, sometimes you throw a frag grenade and you do some damage. Sometimes you throw a crack grenade and you do some damage. But the whole 5 points to do that at like your 24 inches with your bolt rifle, or I think maybe bolt rifles are 30 inches. I haven't run intercessors in a long time. But yeah, just to me, it seems it doesn't seem value for 5 points. We then have a second intercessor squad, and these are bolt rifles as well, and chain swords on the sergeant because the chain swords are free. I think you're better off now with auto bolt rifles over the regular ones, honestly. I think auto bolt rifles go better with the Blood Angels mentality of like pushing forward, and you know, auto bolt rifles give you more shots. Sure, there's some less AP, but it lets you get into the enemy's face as well. And you know what? Intercessors aren't too bad in close combat. Rules say you get an extra 5 EP for him being the coolest model on a bike too. Yeah, the Chaplin on a bike is very, very cool. If you do not like Outriders like I did, I actually cut the top half off my Chaplin from the Indomitus box and put him onto an Outrider and a little bit of a kit bash, and that's one thing you can do as well. Okay, then if we look at elites, we've got 4 Sanguine Guard, Sword, Axe, and Power Fist, and again I think the Power Fist is dead points here. I would rather see those 5 points in an Infernal Pistol. And then 5 Sangri Guard, 3 Swords, 2 Axes. I don't think a Sangri Guard work in squads of 4 or 5 either. I think they need to be in squads of 7 to 9 to get the most value out of them. So maybe we would need to, you know, maybe we get away with a 6. Like maybe if we, like the very next thing on the list is what, a Dreadnought with a twin Las Cannon Heavy Flamer. Maybe if we dropped something like that and got them as a 6 and a 7 I could get on board with, but I don't like them with 4s and 5s. And the reason I don't like them is because you charge the enemy with 4, you don't kill enough units, and then they turn around and slaughter you. Whereas like that never happens with like a 7 or a 9 or an 8. You charge the enemy and you slaughter the enemy so enough of your guys stay alive. It just doesn't happen with a 4 or 5. Alright, we then have the Furioso Dreadnought. And it's got the Furioso Fist and the Heavy Flamer, and I actually kind of like putting the Heavy Flamers on these just to make them a bit more difficult to charge if you use Overwatch. And then a squad of Vanguard Veterans, which you can use to hold the centre of the board, and we know they're survivable, and 3 of them is usually is fine. Hey, good evening, Stoppinator, how you doing? We then have a squad of Outriders, and Outriders I believe are 150 points now. I think they're 50 points per model. They got changed, right? Don't know where you got 145 from. It used to be 45 points per model. Let me just check. I've got chapter approved here in front of me. Fast attack, Outriders. Yeah, 50 points per model. So this is slightly wrong in that it is now 150 points for 3 Outriders. We've talked a lot about Outriders. We did a... don't know if you saw my tier list videos this week, but we are... oh, shit. Tier list. We are making tier lists for all the units. And I've been making a few. And Fast Attack was one that we just did a video on. And where did we put Outriders? We put them in C, which is crap. Or... S is sanguineous tier, so they're awesome. C is, I don't know, I guess A is awesome, B is not bad maybe, C is crap, and D is dunce. Or D is just do not pick. So yes, Outriders for Blood Angels are crap. Or we feel like they're a bit crap. So, I guess like, 150 points though, you know, that instantly lets you put 150 points is 5 more Sangri Guard. So that lets you make this Sangri Guard a 7, this Sangri Guard a 7. Now I feel a lot more comfortable about this. That's why we do 100%. Or 150 points is like 5 Vanguard Veterans with Storm Shields and Lightning Claws, right? I think that's 150 points exactly now. I think that's a much better choice. We then have a Devastator squad with 2 missile launchers and 2 las cannons and a cherub. And missile launchers and las cannons feels to me like the wrong choice now in 9th edition. The board is smaller, so multi-meltas feel like they're going to be better because you get 2 shots per melta. You're also going to be more reliable with your damage if you ever get within half range, whereas these are just swingy D6s. We don't see too many Devastator squads, and usually if we see them inside a drop pod. This is just a Devastator squad on the board, so I guess I can understand the thought behind missile launchers and las cannons. However, if these were actually any good, then they would be picked by more people, right? And they are not being picked by anybody. One of the next videos we'll actually have on the channel is the tier list video for heavy support. And in the tier list video for heavy support, because I've actually already filmed that with Tony and Mark, I just haven't released it yet, we put Devastator squads even with multi-meltas in the crap tier. So again, this is questionable. I think if you want to take heavy support firepower at the moment, I feel like it's Eradicators or it's attack bikes. I don't think much else is going to do better than that. Maybe you could do Eliminators. Eliminators got made quite a bit better. You could do Eliminators with las fusils, and they are a flat 3 damage, which is really nice, but yeah, I don't think Devastator squads are there right now. Predator Annihilator is also very expensive for 175 points. It does have 4 las cannons on it, or 2 las cannons and a twin link las cannon, but at that point you almost feel like you need to run a Tech Marine, right? Because they're not core, so you can get no rerolls on any of your hits. So 4 las cannons, hitting on 3s, and then probably wounding on 3s. You end up, it's just going to be a couple of saves the enemy needs to make against that. And then Eradicators, this is actually on the old points cost, I guess, here. Because Eradicators, 3 of them are now 135 points. So Eradicators are reasonably good unit. One's got a heavy melta rifle. I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can just give one a heavy melta rifle. I think it's the whole squad or none, but maybe I'm wrong. Eradicators, all models in unit can have their melta rifle replaced with one heavy melta rifle each. So yeah, you can't just replace one model with a heavy melta rifle. You can replace one model with a multi-melta, but not just one model. So okay, and then the Impulsor finally, I guess, to transport maybe the Blade Guard and a couple of characters or something, because we already talked about how Gravis can't go in the Impulsor. So this list feels a little bit like a new player, but also feels a little bit like we're not picking the strongest choices. Or we're not picking some of the strongest choices in the meta. The troops are okay. The HQs are not mobile enough for Blood Angels. Good evening, Dolph. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. If I see a lot more people watching than like, so if anyone else would like to hit the like button today, that would be very nice. Outriders are not strong right now. Devastators, I don't think, are strong right now. Predator Annihilators, I think we rated them in the D tier. Like, I think these are legitly bad. Like, no one's running Devastators. No one's running Predator Annihilators. And Outriders for Blood Angels just really aren't great either. So there's a few choices to get rid of here. And I think you want your captain or your chaplain to be a lot more mobile. If you're going to run Sangri Guard, the strength of Sangri Guard is the Warlord keeps up with them. If the Warlord doesn't keep up with them, they're nowhere near as good, right? They hit on 3s compared to hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. And I just talked a few minutes ago about how, like, when I charge my 8 Sangri Guard in, I make 39 out of 40 hits, which is like what? I hit 97.5% of the time, whereas if I don't have my Warlord around me, I just hit 26 hits. So basically you lose 13 hits. Out of 20, yeah, you basically just lose a third of all your hits. What would you put in the Impulsor? One of the HQs in the Intercessors or a HQ party bus? I think it would have to be the Intercessors, but the Intercessors have the wrong weapons to be in that Impulsor, right? Like, they need the auto bolt rifles. But the Blade Guard could go in there if you want them to get to the middle quicker. But here's the thing, I advance Blade Guard. I generally have Blade Guard start on the table in my games, and we're heading to the middle of the board to score Oath of Moment points, and we're usually there by turn 2 anyway, because in turn 1 you pretty much just always advance with your +1 to advance. So usually, I guess on average, if you think about it, your average dice roll on a d6 is a 3.5. So if you get an average, or say even a low average, you usually roll a 3 on your advance, +1, plus your 6-inch move. Your Blade Guard usually can move 10 inches in turn 1, so you're usually able to get to the middle of the board by turn 2. What's the Impulsor even do for you at that point? You know, like, if you actually think about it, would you not just be better having 2 Blade Guard veteran squads over the Impulsor at that point? I feel like you probably would. I think that's my Discord making lots of noises. I think it's Reziol's messaging me on Discord. Sorry about the beeps. Reziol, don't be messaging me when I'm on my live stream. Yeah, so I don't think the Impulsor... Personally, especially this one, has like a shield dome and a heavy stubber, 135 points. That's a lot of points. I own an Impulsor, and I spent the time converting it to basically take a shield dome or the rocket array, I think it is. But I haven't run it since we got our Codex release, or I haven't run it since the Space Marine Codex came out and they put it up in points and they nerfed its invulnerable saves. So, as I said a few times before, I think if you want to run... if you want to make your Blood Angels army mobile, you pay two points per model for a jump pack. You don't pay 135 points for a transport with a stubber on it. Like, it's literally going to have what... I don't even know the profile for the stubber, but I'm guessing it's a joke, right? It's going to be like strength 4, -1 damage. Like, it's not... It's going to do nothing. It's just going to be a bullet magnet that sits on an objective. Maybe it gets you some points, but most likely it does nothing. What do you think about teleport homers on Terminators? I like the idea. Do you know what? Based on the resurrection trick we talked about earlier, then maybe, you know, Terminators with teleport homers could definitely be something that you could use with the resurrection trick. So maybe. I haven't had a huge... See, here's the thing, though. I usually start Terminators in Deep Strike, right? So you'd almost be wanting to start them on the board, make the enemy think you're advancing them. But if you don't go first, that makes it... So you almost want to go second. So the enemy goes first, shoots at your Terminators because they're only visible target, and kills one of them. And then you, upon Wings of Fire them. No, you can't. Oh, sorry. Then you... Yeah, I was going to say you can't upon Wings of Fire them. Then use your teleport homer on them. And if you use a teleport homer on them in turn 1, then you could bring them in turn 2 when they would normally bring in from Deep Strike. So yeah, I mean, technically you could, but it feels like normally when you deploy, you want to have everything obscured, right? Because you can't guarantee the enemy is only going to be able to kill one Terminator. They could have enough firepower to kill a bunch of them. So at that point, it becomes very risky, I guess, DKing. Alright, let's do some scoring on this list, and yeah, James Bravo. Where's my Google Doc? I've lost it. Oh, did I bring it onto the other table? Here we go. Okay. Alright, so we do have 3 OBSEC units, so I guess we're going to start with an 8, so that isn't bad. Anti-infantry firepower feels like it's low. I feel like we've got very little infantry power. We've got some bolters here, and I guess we've got some bolters on the intercessors. Yeah, I feel like you're going to struggle maybe to make some of the key charges you need to in this. I mean, I guess Outriders could do a little bit of firepower with their bolt guns, but yeah, I'm not overly. I think there's too many units in this list that are just not being not performing as of late or not getting picked because they're not really competitive. So yeah, I think 7.5 seems about right. How many 3 damage weapons have we got then? I mean, we do have 4 las cannons here, another 2 missile launchers and las cannons, that gives us 8. Eradicators gives us 11. The fist on the Dreadnought gives us 12. Another twin las cannon here gives us, another fist I guess gives us 14. So kind of 15. So we actually have a good amount of 3 damage weapons. We have no way to counter fight last. And then our core damage usually comes from like our Sanguine Guard or our melee focused heavy hitters. And the squad sizes of these guys are a little bit off, and I don't think that the captain in that can potentially keep up with them. So I think like it's an 8. I think mobility in this list is poor. I think it's probably poor even with the transport, because your Devastators are not mobile at all, and I think I just have a big concern about the HQ not being mobile. The rest of the stuff isn't as bad as I thought, but I really think we benefit from mobile HQs, and none of these are mobile, which is a big concern to me. And I'd much rather have them. I'd much rather have firstborn characters with jump packs over having to like dodge in and out of a 135-point transport. Bearing in mind, you can't use auras and stuff when you're in the transports, and you can't use psychic, and it just limits you. And then specialization, I guess, right? We do have those 15 damage weapons, but we are low on melee, and I think we are low on something to like counter fight last. And I guess, you know, if our Chaplin, if our Librarian is going to be inside a transport, then our 1 deny is also limited to maybe not always being able to be casted either. So yeah, I actually think the last list was a little bit better. So I think we're gonna say 5.5 there on that last column for James, and hopefully, I think you have to look at the Devastator squad and the Annihilator and look at things that people are actually running, right? Like attack bikes with multi-meltas, Inceptors, Vanguard Veterans over these Outriders, and then definitely look at the HQs, right? Like, because these 3 HQs, while they're fine enough, I think I would improve them one at a time if money's an issue, right? Like, I'd improve the Primaries Chaplain, get him on a bike. I'd maybe look at like maybe a Librarian with a jump pack, or maybe a Librarian in Terminator armor. I feel like they're both better than the Primaries Librarian. The Primaries Librarian does have 1 more attack than, say, the one in the Terminator armor, but the one in the Terminator armor has got that 5+ save at all time. Oh, do you know what? He does have Veil of Time here, actually. He does have Psychic Fortress. Do you know what? So maybe it is the same as the last list. Like, his psychic powers pull him back a little bit, but yeah, I think there's definitely improvements that could be made here, James. So hopefully that was useful as well. Excuse me. Okay, and then today's last list is from Mohammed. So let me just fire this in. And as I said, at the end of the stream, we'll put all the lists into the comment section if anyone wants to. Well, it has to be after the stream's ended, so. Oh, excuse me. Alright, let's see what we got. We got a patrol detachment for Mohammed. He's starting with a captain on a bike, Artificer armor twice, I guess this is a typo, Chapter Master, Rites of War, Angel's Exemplar, and the Warlord. And he's Chapter Master, so I'm guessing what he meant is it should be it should be Angel's Artifice is what he's picked up here. Why would he not have Angel's Artifice and have Artificer armor? I don't think there's... He's got Rites of War from the Space Marine Codex, which means he can then take a Warlord trait from the Blood Angels Codex. I think he's missing something as well. Yeah, this is a little... So you could take Angel's Artifice as his relic, because he's the Warlord. Artifice. You can then take Rites of War from the Space Marine Codex, and then I think you can take Gift of Foresight. And I think that's stronger than the option that you had there. Yeah, or you could take Adamantium Mantle, Gift of Foresight, Adamantium Mantle. You could do either or, and both are going to be strong choices, right? Yeah. Okay, so he can make a tweak there to make that chapter master on the bike a bit stronger. I mean, or you could mastercraft one of his weapons, right? I assume he's just got a chainsword. I guess you could mastercraft that if you wanted that as well. We then have Chaplin, who has Recantation of Focus, Canticle of Hate. He is the Master of Sanctity, he is Icon of the Angel, and he has the Jump Pack, and he has the Wise Orator. Recitation of Focus, what does that do again? I don't run that Chaplin buff all that often. Each time model makes a ranged attack, add 1 to attack roll. Select 6. So basically you can add 1 to hit for something that's shooting around him. Fair enough. Let's see what he's got that's going to make use of that then. We then have a squad of Incursors. We have a large squad of Death Company. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but no special weapon. And I generally feel like if you're going to run a large Death Company, especially if you want the option of Forlorn Fury, you should have either a couple of Thunderhammers or a couple of models with Infernal Pistols and Power Fists. And both of those are 15 points. You know, a Thunderhammer is the same cost as a Power Fist and Infernal Pistol, but I feel like if you've got this many Death Company, it's unlikely you're going to get wiped in a turn, so you can either have the Thunderhammers to do a lot of damage that way, or if you don't get wiped in the turn, when it rolls back around to your shooting phase, you can then shoot an Infernal Pistol, and both options are good. I think general consensus for most people is for every 5 models, you have 1 Thunderhammer. So this is like 9, so I'd probably say you need 2. So you might need to change some things to find the points to be able to do that. We then have quite a large Vanguard Veteran squad, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So it's a full Vanguard Veteran squad, 10 Lightning Claw and Storm Shields, and I guess that gives them the option to combat squad them if he needs to. We then have Assault Squads, and boy do we never see Assault Squads, and it's Assault Squads with 2 Melty Guns. And the rest of the models just chainswords and bolt pistols. And yeah, I mean, we don't often see Blood Angels Assault Squads with Melty Guns. And points-wise, I actually don't think that this is that good, right? Like, if you think about 120 points for Assault Squad with 2 Melty Guns. Now, 120 points is 2 attack bikes with 2 multi-meltas, which is giving you double the number of shots, is giving you double the range. It's also giving you +1 toughness, and I guess you have 2 less wounds in the 2 attack bikes have 8 wounds as opposed to, hey, LipG, thanks for subscribing. But I think in the tier list, I could be wrong here, I think we rated, do we still have the tier list for fast attack? Where did we put Assault Squads? We said they were kind of crap, and attack bikes are like S and Inceptors are S. And I guess if you think about it, 3 Bolter Inceptors are the same cost as this. So you could have 3 Bolter Inceptors, and then you could have 2 attack bikes. Do I prefer that over 6 Assault? Do I prefer that over 2 Assault Squads with 2 Meltas? I think so. I mean, the very slight advantage, I guess, is the Assault Squads are infantry, so they can perform actions for you. So maybe there's an argument to be said that, like, you want to keep 1 Assault Squad and they're going to do actions, but for points to damage, it actually feels like this is kind of bad. Okay, then we have our Sangri Priest, and this is actually, this list must have been submitted before the new points costs, because this guy went up to 155 points per model. We then have an Incursor squad, we then have 2 5-man Sanguine Guard, and we always talk about how Sanguine Guard are best in larger squads. And then, do you know what, funnily enough, actually, we have down here a buttload of multi-melt attack bikes. So, something would have had to change in this list anyway, because multi-melt attack bikes were now 180 points, so maybe like we what is that, 15 points, and then we save 35 or something. So we got 20 extra points, but yeah, I generally don't like Sangri Guards and 5s. Like, I think that they just bounce off enemies. Tougher enemies, they'll definitely bounce off. Death Guard, they'll bounce off. Big Dreadnoughts, they'll bounce off. I mean, if we use an example of like Sangri Guard against, I don't know, let's just say like let's pick a Custode Dreadnought, and let's not even pick a strong one. What's the Contemptor that the Custodies have? Contemptor Achilles, I think, is the one, right? Do you know what? We'll pick the Galatus, because the Galatus actually does less damage. But yeah, so if a 5 Sangri Guard jump into this and they get their 5 attacks, they actually only hit it on 4s, so they only hit 12.5 times, and then they only wound it on 4s, so you actually only make 6.25 wounds against this Dreadnought, and it's duty eternal, so each failed save is only -1, and it's a 4+ invulnerable save. So yeah, 5 Sangri Guard jump into this Dreadnought, they do 3 wounds to him. It's got 9, so it just laughs in their face, and then its weapon is what, flat 3 damage, -3? Yeah, so it basically murder. And I believe there's a strat for Custodes where you can pay to get 1 additional attack based on these Dreadnoughts, so he attacks back with 6 attacks hitting on 2s. So he's basically going to force you to take a bunch of saves, I guess, at -3, like 4 saves at -3, or a bunch of Sangri Guard are dead. So yeah, they just don't work in squads of 5. I mean, they work against weaker targets, sure, but like, you don't always fight the weaker targets. Yeah. Do you know what? Overall, it's an interesting list, right? You've got good fire support from the multi-melt attack bikes. You've got good HQ choices, you know, the Priest, the Chapter Master, the Chaplin. I guess the Chaplin's going to be giving the attack bikes +1 to hit, and then the Chapter Master could be the other one, give full rerolls, so you're going to get a lot of value there. I think the Assault Squads are the big question mark. Yeah, and do you know what? Assault Squad's at 120 points. I would just drop an Assault Squad and make both those Sangri Guard 7s. That's probably where I would do. And then if you really want to keep your Assault Squad, you could. Or I might even swap them out just for a squad of Inceptors with Bolters. Like, that might be stronger as well. Bear in mind this list was made before the new points cost, so something might need to change somewhere, like there might need to be something else dropped. And I would like to see some special weapons on the Death Company. 10 Sangri Guard. Do you know what? I actually rated someone's list down a little while ago, Mark, for running one squad of 10 Sangri Guard. And I said, like, oh, you've got too many, you'll overkill everything. And he basically replied in the comments after the stream saying that, like, the reason he runs 10 is because he plays a lot against Death Guard, and Death Guard's -1 damage meant that, like, his 8 Sangri Guard, which is what I run, just didn't quite do enough work against Death Guard, so he just ran 10 as a sort of, like, redundancy. So you're maybe right. I don't think you get protected really that much against Blast. I mean, I guess maybe if you're fighting against Plasma Eradicators, but I think Plasma Eradicators, it's going to be interesting if we see quite as many of them, right, with their ongoing points hikes. So I guess against Plasma Eradicators, I guess Sangri Guard and 5s makes sense, but like, for the most part, are you really going to see Yeah, so it's a tough call. I think I still prefer 7s to 9. Sorry, Plasma, you know what I'm trying to say. Plasma Inceptors. It's getting late. It's coming up to 11:30, so I'm getting a wee bit tired. Sorry. Okay. But overall, I mean, the list seems solid enough. You know, the patrol double seems like it's pretty good. Most people now, I think the top players are starting to run the double patrol or the patrol in the Vanguard. And I think you're giving up a little bit of OBSEC, but what you're gaining is a little bit more killing power. And I think used right, that can be really strong. So I think I've made some good suggestions. I think the Death Company need to have some special weapons, because the reason, you know, some people advise against running special weapons. My argument for running special weapons is you never know on the battlefield 100% that this unit will never run into some really nasty enemy unit. So when you run into that really nasty enemy unit, you always want to have some sort of special weapon, be it an Infernal Pistol, be it a Thunderhammer, to just make the enemy think twice and or guarantee the kill, right? When I used to run my Vanguard Veterans before Lightning Claws were all the rage, I guess, I sometimes had like the Sergeant running a Thunderhammer, and like I remember a game against Andrew where I had one Vanguard Veteran left and he was hiding in a board quadrant, just scoring me all fronts. That's literally all he was doing. He was hiding in a building, and Andrew charged him with like a Necron Overlord, and he missed his attacks. And then my my one lone Vanguard Veteran, you know, did 9 wounds to him with his Thunderhammer and just killed him from full health and got me assassinate points. So not only was he in the corner scoring me all fronts every turn, he now just got me 3 points to assassinate. And that's the advantage you have when you have that one special weapon. So having 9 Death Company with no Thunderhammers, I would rather have like 8 Death Company with 1 Thunderhammer and 2 Infernal Pistols across the squad, right? So if I only have 3 models left, I can still do a shitload of damage. So yeah, and then the assault squads for me, they just don't, you know, 120 points, they're not survivable, 2 melta shots, they're interesting, but for me, I don't rate them. We really rated them badly in our tactics video, or you know, our tier list this week. Alright, so we've got Incursors times 2, so I think 7.5 Thunderhammers for the win, right, Russell? You should have seen Andrew's face when that happened. He was very upset because I was like, oh, you failed 3 thunder, or you failed 3, and he's like, how much damage? And I was like, 9. And he's like, oh. Yeah, Space Marines, we can do the damage when we need to. I mean, the Death Company can clear infantry screens, I guess, with all these chainswords. But like I said, you go clear the screen, and then where are you going next? You know, you win or you die, looking cool. Yeah, and we've got Lightning Claws to clear screens, and we have a decent amount of bolter fire in this list as well. So anti-horde is probably okay. 3 damage weapons. Well, he had 6 attack bites with multi-meltas. He had 4 more melta guns here. Do you know what? Come to think of it, like a Thunderhammer on a Death Company Marine is going to be more effective than a melta gun on an assault squad, I think, every day of the week, right? Like 2 shots hitting on 3s as opposed to 5 hits a Death Company Marine gets. So 5 hits hitting on 4s. I mean, if you average that out, you're getting 2.5 hits against 1.33 hits. You're going to wound easier with a Thunderhammer as well, because you've got +1 from the Red Thirst. So the Thunderhammer is probably reliably going to do more damage than the melta guns that you're paying for here. And you're probably going to... You're probably... Yeah. I mean, the only advantage, I guess, is the melta guns can arrive from Deep Strike, but it's so few shots, it just doesn't feel that strong to me. Alright, so 3 damage weapons then. We have the 6 multi-melt. So I think we've got 10 3 damage weapons in this list, which is okay. That's kind of the limit where I say 10 3 damage weapons. And the attack bites are going to get maybe full rerolls and +1 to hit. So the attack bites can do some damage for sure. So I guess anti-monster is probably like a 9, in that we do get, 12 multi-melta shots every turn. Used right, those multi-meltas could be very strong. Mobility, I think, is pretty good. I mean, it's actually great, the mobility. Yeah, I mean, the mobility is actually really great in this list, because just about everything, including the assault squads, are super mobile. So I actually think this is one of the most mobile lists we've probably ever seen, actually. yeah, I mean, the only things that aren't mobile are the Incursors, and they just guerrilla tactics. So, but then specialization, there's no Psyker, so we don't have any denies. There's no Whirlwind, so we have no way to counter fight last. We only have 10 3 damage weapons. Sure, we have a lot of multi-metal shots, but if the enemy can pin those down, we kind of struggle. So I'd say like a 7-5 maybe for this list. Maybe it's a 7, but you know what? It's the last list of the night. Maybe we'd be a little bit generous. So I think this week it's Kevin and Camille are kind of our two to beat. And their lists were good. I think that the fact that they were slightly different, you know, one was a battalion and one was the patrol stuff, that was pretty cool. And yeah, I don't think this Mohammed's list is too bad at all. But I just don't like a couple of things. I don't think anyone's really running assault squads at the top level. I think. Hey, Sarky, thanks for subscribing. I don't know what else to say about it except they just don't seem that effective for the points cost, and they're not survivable as well, which is a big problem. And and the other thing is they only have one attack, so if they do get caught up in combat, they're actually really bad in combat, and they're going to struggle to get out of combat. So, yeah, so a little bit of a different Monday night this week, I guess, guys, in that normally on Monday nights we play live games. And hopefully we'll be back to that next week. And it's going to be Death Guard we're playing against next. And I'm actually kind of excited to get the game against Death Guard, and maybe we'll be able to use our new Upon Wings of Fire tactic to get nice short charges. But yeah, so thanks everyone that submitted their list. If you do want to submit your list for a future show, you can do that over on the community page. And as always, we'll have a few different videos coming out this week. I think this week we've got a video coming out on Wednesday, tactics video on Friday, and then I think we'll be doing a hobby hangout as normal on Saturday night this week. So we'll just be chilling and painting. I'm not entirely sure what we're painting on Saturday, but we'll paint something. But sometimes I do hobby hangouts on Thursday. I'm filming the next episode of the tier list video this Thursday, so I will not be live on Thursday. But no, thanks so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Mikanaro. Wow, that's a long name. But yeah, so we, I guess Wednesday night, Friday night, Saturday, and then I guess we'll have this stream again next Sunday. You're very welcome, Kevin. I hopefully gave you some good advice. And yeah, and then back to live games next Monday night as normal. And yeah, I've actually now got a plan for so this sounds bad, right? Up until now, or up until let's say 2 or 3 weeks ago, I've been winging it, I guess, almost week on week. I would just every week I would just decide what video I'm making in that week and just make something for the channel. So now I actually have a plan where I've sort of planned out the next 2 or 3 months content. And I was going to say, so if anyone has any future videos that they want to see, comparison videos or anything like that, Math Hammer, I think the one that keeps coming up at the moment is ATVs v land speeders. People want to know what's best, ATVs or land speeders. So I now have a plan, and any requests, I guess, are getting put on that plan. So if you have future video ideas or things that you want to see, you guys can just let me know here or on Discord or in the comment section, and I'll pick them up and I'll add them to the plan. And yeah, a plan. So we actually, yeah, I mean, it seems mad after winging it for because yeah, so I started the channel in August last year, so we're literally about to be 11 months in. So it's a bit mad that we winged it for 11 months. But I mean, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anyone would watch, right? So it's brilliant you guys are watching here every week, and I really appreciate the support. And hopefully with a plan, it'll just be better content from now on, right? That was the whole point of making a plan. It reminds me of Was it not Usual Suspects, the movie? I haven't seen that movie in years, actually, where he's like a man with a plan. So that's where we are now. But anyway, I hope you guys have a really good evening. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the stream. And yeah, we'll definitely be around a couple of times this week, so stay tuned. And if you need anything before that, you can hit me up in Discord. And thanks, Mark. Yeah, hit the like button if you did enjoy the stream, or if you want to see more Blood Angels content, you can actually hit that subscribe button. And also, if you are subscribed, remember to hit the little bell, because if you don't hit the little bell next to the subscription, and apparently only 8% of my channel members have hit the little bell. If you don't hit the little bell, you don't actually get notified each time I put a new video up. YouTube just decides sometimes to notify you. That's how that works. What do I think about Warhammer Plus? Originally I thought it was going to be kind of expensive, at £50 I guess for the year, or £5 a month. When you factor in that you can get like the free Vindicator Assassin, well, I mean he's not really free, I suppose you're paying for him, right? But it is a cool model, and I guess so that kind of maybe makes it feel like half the price. I guess you get the app as well, which I don't currently pay for, so I guess that might be handy to have the codexes for all the other armies. But the main thing about Warhammer Plus was that I was a bit disappointed with was it's only going to be 10 episodes of the Blood Angels one, Angels of Death, and the episode length is only like 10 to 15 minutes is what they said. So in the first year, we're only really going to get about 2 hours worth of that Blood Angels. I guess it's like a... well, it's like an animation, right? Or it's like a CGI movie, I guess. So it's only really going to be about 2 hours worth of content. So I was probably going to pay for it just because I wanted to watch the Angels of Death series, Camille. But the fact that it's only 2 hours over the course of a year, I mean, I guess that's why they've kind of put that free model out, right? Because like most normal, like if there was no free model, and actually I'm not even 100% sure, I guess it depends on how much you care about that Vindicator model. If you don't care, you could just wait, let's say 10 weeks. You could literally subscribe for 1 month for your $5, and you could watch the whole of the Angels of Death. Like if it's only 2 hours, you can literally watch it in an evening, right? And then unsubscribe, right? And there'll probably be a free trial as well. Most of these other streaming services have a month free trial, right? So you could almost watch it completely for free, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm not against paying for something if I get value out of it, right? But I guess the problem is they announced that Angels of Death thing like, what, 2 years ago or something? Like, it was a long time. Like, I was expecting it to be more than 2 hours worth of content. The Assassin model is really cool, yeah. So, I mean, I think people will probably pay for it probably more than the Assassin because there's not enough content. But, you know, I think if we all wind our brains back, like how long ago was Netflix around, right? Like 10 years ago, I'm sure there wasn't that much content on Netflix, and because people subscribed and bought into it and stayed, then there was more content. And I mean, you know, in some ways, it's actually the same as this channel here, right? Like 10 months ago when I had no subscribers, then like there was no plan and we just made random videos now and then, and now that there's loads of subscribers, hopefully we make better content, more useful content, and more often, you know. So hopefully that's where it goes, you know. Like it would be great to have more animations and Warhammer stuff to watch. There's more content in this channel than Warhammer Plus. Thank you very much, Mark. It's very kind of you. I mean, that's kind of embarrassing if that's true, but yeah, it's hopefully the free model will entice enough people to subscribe so that they can get it where it needs to be to make more content. Because maybe Disney Plus is even a good example, right? The first couple of years of Disney Plus, there was like no shows except The Mandalorian, right? Like I don't really remember watching anything else on Disney Plus except Mandalorian, and now there's been, just this year, there's been like 3 Marvel shows, and there's a new Star Wars one, and you know, like I guess it takes time for those streaming services to gear up or whatever. So, I mean, yeah, I guess you have to decide, is the Vindicator Assassin worth basically $50? Because if he's not, you can probably just subscribe for one night or one 1 month and watch all the content you need to do. You know, there's so many of those streaming services now, right? With Apple TV and Netflix and Disney Plus. Like I said to the wife, like, it's getting stupid. Like, we actually need to unsubscribe to some of these, just subscribe for a month and watch a few different things and then go to another one, because and like maybe that's how Warhammer TV will be to begin with as well, until they get to a point where they have those weekly releases or something. But on the plus side, I don't think my wife would ever watch anything Warhammer related. So maybe if the animations are really high quality and the Angels of Death thing is good, like maybe it's a way to get other people interested in the hobby, you know. So maybe, you know, fingers crossed, right? Like, it's not, it's hard to say, I guess. Like, but I mean, I was thinking that we could do I was thinking we could do like episode reviews on the channel about the Blood Angels thing, if people wanted to see that, or we could talk about it. But I don't really know exactly what my plan is for that. But I mean, leave me a message on Discord, and I guess we can talk about it more. But I mean, I am excited to watch Angels of Death, whether or not, even if it's only like 10 episodes of 10 minutes, it will be at least from what we've seen, it looks like it's going to be pretty cool, right? So yeah, okay. Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks, guys. Sorry for driveling. I will see you guys soon, I'm sure. And yeah, have a great evening. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch up soon. And if you haven't joined Discord, make sure you do in the video description down below, because you know that's probably the best place to get a hold of me. Alright, good evening guys, thanks for watching. By the blood are we made. Peace.